Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Kat. I'm going to do my very best to get through today's video without crying. I read this book, I finished it 2 days ago, and honestly, it's still like I have tears in my eyes about it. Today's video is going to be on the book Wilder Love by Emery Rose. Oh, I can't. Absolutely so good. I have done 3 previous videos on Emery Rose books. She has 3 books. I've read them all. It was a series. They were beautiful. I loved them. Just the emotion and the storytelling. She's so talented. She's so talented, and I feel so incredibly blessed to be able to read her books and have this level of emotion come out of me, and to be so connected to their story and so invested in their story. Any of the previous books she's written, and then again with Wilder Love. Just can't. Actually, I can, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. So before we start talking about Wilder Love, I want to remind you that it's not my intention to give spoilers, but I do enjoy talking about the book so much. I talk about the storyline, I talk about the characters in detail, so please forgive me if you get any spoilers. Let's talk about Wilder Love. Wilder Love is Shane Wilder and Remy St. Clair's story. It starts out by Remy's perspective. It's actually told by both of their perspectives, which I adore because I feel like you get so much more when it's the dual perspective. Remy is complicated. Remy is tragic. Remy is sad. Remy is an old soul. Remy has had a really tough life in her 16 years when the story starts. But she's also so incredible. And you just, God, as a mom, knowing, what was going on with her killed me. She has a twin brother, Dylan. He is just as tragic and beautiful and an old soul like she is. They're forced to be because of their upbringing. And I wanted, every time we heard about Dylan or saw Dylan in the book, I wanted more from him. I wanted to know more. Dylan reminded me so much of one of Emery's previous characters, Connor, who I absolutely, he holds such a special place in my heart. And that big surprise, these characters, she's just so good at making you connect with these characters. And it could be a completely different thing that you've never experienced in your life, but the way she tells their story, you connect. And it's simply astounding. So good. So like I said, it starts from Remy's perspective, and they have moved around a lot. They are very transient in their life. You know that their home life, which it's just the 2 of them and their mom, has not been good. Their mom, I couldn't even put my finger on exactly what she is. She's just a probably really hurt person trying to get through life. And it's not good. And there's a lot that goes on with them. But in any case, their kind of tagline was, it'll be better in the next city. And that's what they grew up with. Like I said, they were transient. So when they land in Southern California, they both have this renewed yet jaded feeling of, this is the city, it's going to be better. They are, about 16 when they get there. And, they're getting to that age where they know what's going on is not good, but they love their mom. And there's something about that town that they live in, and also something hopeful in that they stick together big time. They always have each other's back. That relationship was really endearing for me to read about. And they make a promise to each other that they're going to last until they're 18, and they just have to wait until they turn 18, and then they can go and do whatever they want, and they can have their life however they want it to be and not be living at the whim of their mom. The book is divided into two distinct parts. There's the before, and it's actually listed on the chapters, or first chapter, I think. And then there's the after. So immediately when you read that, you're like, oh crap. There's a before and then there's an after. So I knew there was going to be a big part of the plot that was going to have to do with the reason why there's a before and an after. So I talked a little bit about Remy. Shane Wilder is the other main character. He's a few years older than Remy. I think that he's 21 maybe when they meet. Remy, so the book starts with Remy waking up in their new apartment, and they've just, like I said, they've just landed there after, living someplace else, and they live close to the beach, and she wants to find her way to the beach. So she starts wandering around, and she's on her skateboard, and she comes across Shane, and they're immediately connected. They see something in each other immediately. She describes him, you just picture the perfect Southern California surfer boy, the way she describes him. And, she decides, he offers her a ride down to the beach. They start to talk about it, and he offers her a ride, and she's like, well, I shouldn't take rides from a stranger. But yet she has this confidence about her. Life has knocked her down, but it hasn't dulled her spirit, and he sees that in her. And she decides, you know what, screw it. He's cute. I'm going to trust him. So they go and they drive down to the beach. It's really beautiful the way Emery writes about, from Remy's perspective when she sees the beach for the first time. Everything that she said is exactly how I feel in front of the ocean. And I've been lucky enough to see both oceans, the Pacific and the Atlantic. I've been lucky enough to see the Gulf of Mexico as well. And the way Remy describes seeing the ocean for the first time was exactly how I felt. And I'd like to read it. I took a deep breath of the air. The thunder of the waves silenced the voices in my head, drowned out the ugly, and made me feel at peace in a way I never had before. I felt so small, but not in an insignificant way. And isn't that so true? When you're standing in front of the water and you hear and you smell, all your senses are alive, and you're so small, but yet you're standing there. And I really thought she described that spot on for exactly how I feel as well when I stand in front of the ocean. And then Shane, they had been talking in the car ride how Remy said she'd never been to the ocean. So when they get down to the beach and she walks straight out and she sees this, Shane is one with the ocean. Like I said, he's a surfer. Surfing is a spiritual experience for him, and I've never known any surfers personally because I live in the Midwest, but he's exactly how you think that they are, how he felt about the ocean. And when they're walking down to the beach together, he says to her, I wanted to see the look on your face the first time you saw the ocean, and I wanted to be the person you saw the ocean with. So right there, you know that they have affected each other in the few minutes since they've met, that there's connection, and they're drawn to each other. So right there, you know that Shane is feeling the same things in the couple minutes since they've met that Remy is feeling about him, that he's drawn to her equally as she's drawn to him. He doesn't know that she's younger when they meet. He can't put a finger on, how old she is. He senses the matureness in her. But she's, they live like across the street from each other. And, he just is attracted to her from the beginning, right? And from that moment on, they become best friends. And it's obviously there's an attraction there. They actually go out on a little bit of a date that night. They do fool around a little bit, and then he asks her age, and she tells him, and he's like, okay. And that's kind of like he knows he can't cross a line with her, but he also knows that he understands her and she understands him on a level that he doesn't have in his life and she doesn't have on her life. So they become best friends. They spend a ton of time together, and that's where their relationship starts to grow. In so many ways, Shane grounds Remy in. He provides stability. He provides somebody else in her corner that's not just Dylan, her brother. He provides love. He provides friendship. Like I said, they're very transient in their lives, and they don't have any attachments. And Shane comes along, and all of a sudden, they're like this. On the flip side, Shane senses things about her because they have such a close relationship and he sees things that go on with her mom, and he senses abuse immediately. And that was really heartbreaking because Emery wrote it in a way where, and Shane says this, and that's my point, is that Remy tries to cover it up, and Remy does okay with it. But Shane sees it, and he wants to change it, and he wants to help her, but he also doesn't. He knows she's a strong girl, but he wants better for her. And, he tries to step in ways that he can, and, but she's a strong girl, and she is going to take care of herself. Her and Dylan are going to take care of themselves. They do. They always have. So there was a lot of respect as far as that went. Shane is very close to his dad. Remy becomes very close to his dad. His mom actually passed away in a tragic accident, and he was actually with her, and he carries that with him. It was very sad. And it's kind of going back to where I said that surfing is spiritual for him because his dad was a big surfer, is a big surfer, and the water represents a lot for them. And they had a wonderful marriage. They were each other's soulmates. And those were very heart-wrenching times in the book when Shane would talk about his mom, and he would, talk about how his dad was and how his dad changed after her death. And I thought it was I adored Jimmy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I really liked him. And something very poignant for me that really made me love him was he would say to Shane, let's go hang out with your mom. And Shane meant that's where they would go surfing. Because they put her ashes in the ocean. So when they went and they would go surf, it was their way of all being, kind of a family together. Oh, see, I can't. One of the first couple days of school, Remy meets Sienna. And it's funny, she says she's like the typical, bitchy girl, popular girl, but yet she's not. She's been outcasted in a way. Sienna. And they become friends immediately. And it was something that she never really had before. And there are parts in the story with Dylan and Sienna that you kind of wonder if there's what's going on with those two. That was intriguing. I wanted more of that. I liked the friendship that Remy and Sienna had, because that meant that Remy had somebody else in her corner. And Sienna's this, rich Southern California girl. She sees a kindred spirit with Remy, and they become best friends. And I really liked their friendship. Shane has very good friends. They're all surfers. Did I talk about, I don't think I mentioned that Shane is on the track and is a pro surfer at this point. He is on the track to be a world champion. And they hang out with some of Shane's friends. One of his very good friends is Travis. And I liked how Emery brought in the protective best friends on either side, because I felt like they each as characters needed somebody else in their corner that wasn't just family. Like I said, Shane is a pro surfer. All through the beginning, the before part of this book, he's traveling around the world. And it's not the biggest part, but it's definitely something. He goes away for a couple of weeks and then he comes back. It's no secret that they want each other. But Shane is like, she's not old enough. There's a line I can't cross with her yet, even though he wants to, and she wants him to too. But like I said, their baseline is that they're each other's person. There was a couple of things that Shane said about Remy that I thought were written so beautifully, and to me very poignant, and helped me fully, understand Shane's love for her on the deep level that it was. I had fallen for a girl who was too young for me, a girl who was tragic and beautiful and broken. She effed with my head, got under my skin, and changed the tempo of my heart. Yep, she sure did. And then another one is, but that night, the 12th anniversary of my mom's death, we were blissfully unaware of what fate had in store for us. Okay, so something major is going to go down, right? So now we have these two big clues to being before, listed on the chapters, and now this. There's something that Remy talks about with Shane, in that she's not a virgin, but she hasn't been treated well. That intimacy, as far as sexual intimacy, was something that was taken from her. And, attachment is a hard thing for her because of what goes on. And she's very attached to Shane. And she wants him physically as well. And there is this person that comes up that is at school, and she meets almost right away. And Sienna has a past with him, and his name is Tristan. And he's a big bully. And he is the character you hate. And so we know that there's been situations with Tristan and Sienna, with Tristan and Remy. And, it's funny because I just read and did a video on The Stopover by T.L. Swan, and Tristan in that book was amazing, and I loved Tristan. Well, what a change the name Tristan took for me in this book. There is nothing redeemable about this kid. There's nothing good about him. He is an ass, and he plays a pivotal part in how their story changes. We get to the after part of the book. There is a major shift in the trajectory of their relationship, their lives, and it's horrible. I actually messaged Emery and was like, oh my God. It's horrible. And that happens, and it involves Tristan, and then we get the after. And it absolutely devastated me. it was nothing how I expected their story to go. Of course you want drama and you want angst and how are they going to find their happily ever after, right? But I didn't expect the fall to be so broken and so sad and so devastating. I didn't know where she was taking us. What happened to them? Where do we go from here? Yeah. I love that I don't know where a story's going to go. I love that it changes from where I see, where I think it's going to be. It took a major change. Or I should say, it took a major change. It took a major shift, and it shocked me, and it devastated me. Fast forward 6 years, Shane's coming out of prison. A little bit about where they are when that starts is where I just said Shane was, trying to rebuild his life with his dad. Dylan, oh, sweet Dylan. Dylan has become an app developer, and he was always good at math and had started some community college classes in the before part, and he took with it, ran with it, went to college, got a degree, and is now an app developer and has money, bought a house in the town that they settled in, the Costa del Rey, was that it? I don't remember the name of the town. Anyway, bought a house back there. It's gorgeous. Remy, in her most tragic state of what happened to them, to him, to Shane, to her, in her most tragic state, actually gets scouted for a modeling agency. And she says, sarcastically that, tragic is beautiful. So she's become an extremely successful model. She has been on Sports Illustrated. She has traveled the world. She, has a bunch of money. They have taken themselves from being poor and transient and in an abusive situation to both being extremely successful people in their own right. And yet they never forget where they came from. And I liked that they made successes of themselves for whatever that meant for them. And they both have the worry that the thing that worried them the most growing up, they have the ability to give themselves now as adults. They can give themselves stability. They can give themselves a home. They have money. They can pay rent. They can buy things. They can have food, all that kind of stuff. So I liked that part. I felt like, something good had happened to them with all the bad that had happened. They were able to turn their lives into something really good for themselves. Remy keeps a really good head on her shoulders. She's got a great best friend, Bastane. He's a rock star. They actually live together in New York. She's found another person who is broken like her and yet is able to have a real friendship. She has this ability to exude confidence, and people are drawn to that. When inside, it takes her a lot to be that way. She talks about needing to go to therapy because of all of her issues and all that, and I wanted the best for her. I just didn't know where that was and when that was going to be. The after part fast forwards us 6 years. And then we know from Remy's perspective that it takes her about another year to where she goes back to the town that they live in, and that Dylan still, where they're from, but where Dylan lives, he picks her up at the airport, and he's like, still got your back, Remy. It was very sweet. And the interesting thing is that she gets, the reason why she comes back is that Dylan calls her and he says, he's back. and he's referring to Shane. And that's all she needed. She knew she needed to go back. She needed to make things right. She needed him in her life again. But I didn't know how he was going to get back there or any of it. It was the best torture. These were the chapters that just made me just cry. And so after Dylan picks her up from the airport, he brings her back to his house. And like I said, it's a beautiful house. He's got tons of money. And she's, you know, I would describe her as to being pensive about the situation with him, with Dylan. And, you know, obviously they're brother and sister and they love each other, but she's at a different point in her life. She has matured. She has had, as he has had, some serious life events happen to her and them. And they're talking and she's trying to connect with him again, face to face. And she's like, "Are you happy?" And he was like, "Yep," you know? And she wonders, like, you know, who's his person? You know, he's by himself in this big house. And he says to her, "I'm not like you, Remy. You wanted to be loved, and you wanted to be loved by somebody." My heart broke for him. And it's like, don't you, Dylan? You deserve it too. And then as he's saying that to her, she is saying in her head, not just someone, Shane. I want to belong to him. I want to be loved by him. And she responds to Dylan, everyone wants to be loved. So there was like, okay, so what's going to go on with Dylan? I want to know more about Dylan. I want to know what he is all about. I want more Dylan. It's really sad what happened to Shane and Jimmy. Jimmy lost everything when the thing happened with Shane. Like I said, the trajectory of everyone's lives changed. But Jimmy is, you know, faultless. He just is an amazing dad, and he's an amazing man, and he's got this old soul, and he's got perspective. He's been through life. Life has knocked him down in so many ways, and it was something that was so hard for Shane, was that his dad was affected by his actions, and he wants to make sure that he takes care of his dad the way he has always taken care of him. And there's something really sad that's going on with Jimmy. When Remy comes back into town, it's now 7 years later, she is kind of nervous to see Jimmy, but she had such a good relationship with him. And he was a father figure to both Dylan and to her. And it was actually very sweet because she didn't know how close Dylan was while she was away. She didn't know that Dylan and Jimmy had a relationship either. And Dylan holds things really close to the vest. Really close to the vest. And she finds out about that. And it was so sweet. And it was like, it brought a big smile to my face. And I was so happy to hear that. I highlighted every single chapter towards the end in the after section. They go on such an incredible journey, and it's an absolute must read. I know that Emery has said that this was a labor of love for her, this book, and I am so glad she stuck it out, and this is what she delivered to us, because it is absolutely fantastic. So worth every single word. I adore her writing. I adore how she makes me feel while I'm reading her books. I can't wait to see what she's going to come up with next. Sign me up. I am in for it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about Wilder Love. Go get it. Put it on your TBR. Actually, just freaking buy it because you want to read it. It's that good. Definitely go back and check out my videos on the beautiful series. Have a great day. I hope you're reading an awesome book. I'll see you soon. Bye.